Growing outrage today over a column posted on a leading news website openly mocking Republican presidential candidate Rick Santorum and his Roman Catholic faith. The column, which appears on thehuffingtonpost.com, refers to Catholics as, quote, a Jesus-eating cult, and goes on to say, quote, unlike Christians, Santorum and his fellow Roman Catholics participate in a barbaric ritual dating back 2 millennia, a mass in which a black-robed cleric casts a spell over some bread and wine, transfiguring it into the actual living flesh and blood of their Christ. Followers then line up to eat the Jesus meat and drink his holy blood in a cannibalistic revelry not often seen outside of Cinemax. Several leading conservatives have demanded that the post be taken down and want an apology from the website and the author of the piece, but some are now wondering why more people aren't speaking out. Joining me now, David Silverman. He's president of American Atheists, and Sandy Rios, who's a Fox News contributor and vice president of Family PAC Federal. Sandy, let me start with you. So the author of the piece came out and said, look, it's a ridiculously over-the-top broadside against Catholicism, which he says too many people on that side, including Santorum, he believes, have exercised intolerance toward other religions and other people. So he's trying to make a point with what's either a satire or, as he says, an over-the-top piece. Do you accept that?
No. Satire is supposed to be amusing, and this was far from amusing. This was really vitriol. This was like a spewing of hatred. Like, I felt like it was therapy for him as a former Catholic. I mean, it was really a nasty piece. He talks about Catholicism being the tactical arm of the North American Man-Boy Love Association. He says that if Rick Santorum is elected, we're going to have the Pope Benedict as our president, and he was a former Nazi. I mean, and this is not funny stuff. I mean, we all know humor when we hear it. This is not satire. This is not humor. This was a spewing of his hatred for Catholicism.
David, there is a question about whether Catholicism is one of the few religions left, or Christians in general, that you can bash with impunity. You know, that if something like this had been written about Islam or the Muslim faith, people would be up in arms, but not so much when it's Catholics who are on the defensive.
Yes, we all have to have pity for the poor Catholic Church, the richest, most corrupt organization in the history of mankind, where there are 6 actual Catholics on the Supreme Court, and the entire Congress is filled with Christians. I'm not feeling too much pity for them. The piece was a little too much. The piece was a little over the top. He shouldn't have made the reference to Hitler, but it does kind of make atheists giggle when one religious cult or one religious organization badmouths the other and says, oh, they're primitive, they're barbaric, but the complainers also have primitive and barbaric features that date back and also have no better basis for their mythology. We've got the Protestants in this country, mega churches, millionaire preachers, fighting against stem cell research, fighting against gay marriage, all because of reasons that have no more validity than the Catholic churches. And they're all fighting each other, and this is why it's so important that the government stay neutral out of the picture.
Well, this isn't government. I mean, this is a private citizen on a private website. But Sandy, let me ask you: do you think there's a double standard? If something like this had been written about Islam or Muslims, would there be a greater outcry, even from the liberal press?
Well, of course. I mean, we've had examples just lately when the Quran was inadvertently burned in Afghanistan because it was used to translate dangerous messages. We saw the riots and the murders. We saw our president apologize. We saw the art that's been funded by the government piss Christ, which is a crucifix and urine. So, yes, Christianity is fair game, and they roll over backwards, the left especially, to protect Islam. And I'm not quite sure why that is, except for this.
Well, Christianity is fair game.
I want you to hold that thought. I want you to hold that thought, because we've got to carry the segment over, because we've got a hard break in 10 seconds. I'm going to carry it over, and I'll let you finish your point, and then I want to ask you whether an apology is, in fact, due. Stay with me. Sandy, I wanted to let you finish your point. I want to ask you whether you think the Huffington Post, which posted this, should come out with an apology, because some conservative groups are demanding that.
They would be well served to do that, but I'd like to say in closing, Megan, that religious institutions and constructs are man-made. And when a piece like this comes up, Larry is upset with the institutes, the Crusades, the pedophile priests, the Lutheran Church who colluded with Nazi Germany. But that's different than God himself. The Christian God is very unique. He transforms lives radically. And when you really know him, not the institutions, you're willing to lay down your life for him, like that Iranian pastor who's under death threat right now. The Christian God is remarkable and wonderful. He's not represented in man's constructs, which always go awry. So the left is mad at the constructs because the God behind them demands a certain kind of behavior in terms of private behavior and your moral outlook. And they want moral license. They hate God, and so they attack the constructs.
I just want to tell, she mentions Larry Doyle. That's the author of the piece, who is a novelist and a former writer and producer for The Simpsons. David, I'll give you the last word.
No apology is necessary. In America, where we have freedom of the press, everything is fair game. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, it's all fair game. The Reason Rally will be the largest atheist event in world history, and it's free. Next month, reasonrally.org. And thank you very much for having us on your show.
All right.
Good luck, David, and believing in nothing.
Thank you.
God loves you
Thanks
anyway.
for being snarky, and have a nice day.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
We
you're
were doing
welcome.
so well there. Thank
Bye.
you. See you.
Thanks, Megan.